The former Florida Governor Jeb Bush says his brother George W. Bush advises him on issues concerning the Middle East. Jeb Bush made the remark in a private off-the-record meeting in New York City on Tuesday. Some in the audience were surprised to hear him invoke his brother's name since he's gone to some pains in recent months to escape the shadow cast by his father and brother. Listen to this.
I love my brother. I love my dad. I actually love my mother as well. I hope that's okay. I'm my own man, and my views are shaped by my own thinking and my own experiences.
All right, let's bring in our political team. Jeff Zeleny is joining us, Nia Malika Henderson, and Sarah Murray. Sarah, you reported on this story. It's generated a lot of buzz out there. Tell us precisely what you learned.
Well, I talked to a couple people who were in the room, and this just stunned them, just to hear the words come out of Jeb Bush's mouth that he said, the person I turn to for advice on foreign policy on the Middle East is George W. Bush. And I think the reason he said this is because he was trying to reassure this crowd of people about the people he's turning to for advice. And in this room, it was a lot of hawkish Republicans, and the name George W. Bush to them sits differently than it does with the broader American public. Obviously, this is a problem more broadly because people still have a lot of negative feelings about George Bush's policies, particularly in the Middle East.
There was, I take it, no cameras or video, as far as we know, audio, nothing along those lines from inside that private meeting?
It was an off-the-record event. It was hosted by Paul Singer, who's a big hedge funder in New York, who's been kind of having these events to let donors sort of kick the tires with different candidates they might want to support. So to the best of our knowledge, there is no video, there is no recording. People are not supposed to be taking recordings, taking notes, but a couple people jotted down this remark just because it struck them as so jarring.
Is this going to have a political impact, do you think, Jeff?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, he already owns his family's legacy, and he comes with all the good and the bad of that. But he has been trying to distance himself, as Sarah said. He's been saying, I'm my own man. So by him saying this is certainly not something he's going to go out there and campaign on. Even in Republican circles, the name George W. Bush is not as golden of a name as it used to be. So I think it's not great for him, but long term, it's a long way to go.
But if you remember, Dan, you do remember, because you cover all of this, he did put out a list of his foreign policy advisors a few weeks ago, and that generated a lot of buzz as well.
That's right. He put out a lot of his foreign policy advisors. We all remember that they were in George W. administration. Some of them obviously worked for his dad too. There was also another dust-up where he tried to distance himself from James Baker because James Baker, to some people, isn't as hawkish on Israel as people want to hear. So he's going to have to walk this fine line for a while, I think. As Jeff said, he's got this baggage. It's not going anywhere. He's also got to know that what he says in these private meetings will likely become public. Let's remember 47%, the remark that Mitt Romney famously made. So, you know, you talk to some donors about this and some activists, they say, listen, he's rusty, he's got to get better, and he will.